Climate change is the most important challenge of our times. We're moving into truly uncharted territory after record temperatures in 2016 saw Sydney swelter, placing enormous strain on our power grid, on our public transport and on our hospitals. And we're now seeing the effects of climate change in the increasingly wild weather we're experiencing both here and around the world. At the C40 meeting of international cities late last year, Executive Director Mark Watts made it quite clear we need to do twice as much in half the time. But there are positive signs on the horizon. We are approaching the tipping point. Renewable energy will soon be cheaper than coal and gas. New technologies such as batteries and smart meters are emerging, empowering consumers to take control of their energy usage. Here in the city, we're not waiting for the federal government to take action. We've spearheaded a range of programs that have drastically reduced emissions across our city area. And we're now proud to work with the B Team and some of Australia's leading businesses to tackle climate change and reach our target of net zero emissions by 2050.
It's not just about risk, it's also about incredible opportunity. And there are literally trillions of dollars out there that can be made from taking the advantage of the new economy and moving to net zero.
It was probably a year ago when we were talking to the B Team about building an Australian community of businesses who were on net zero emission pathways. The ink was still not dry on the Paris Agreement, and we probably could have counted on one hand the companies that we knew were actively thinking net zero emission. And now I see the room is full in less than a year or so, and so next year when you hold this event again, I think you should book the new convention centre here.
The roundtable brought business and government representatives, particularly local government and state government, together to talk about how we can transform to a net zero economy, to look at the pathways where we can work on that together. There's also recognition, though, that there are big challenges. One of the biggest challenges is regulatory uncertainty, policy uncertainty. If government chops and changes, business isn't going to invest, and we heard that message very strongly today. But by the same token, I think there was tremendous support for a number of really good things that are happening at a local government area or at a state government area as well, which show we can succeed in this. But if we're going to have to work together, and we're going to have to bring people along with us.
The City of Sydney, the New South Wales Government, indeed the B Team internationally and our own Just Transition Centre, all working together, collaborating on the first step of saying what will it take to get to net zero, what will industrial transformation look like, and how do we make sure it's a just transition for workers and communities.
Look, to achieve long-term investments that help reduce emissions and achieve net zero emissions by 2050, it's important to have a strong and consistent regulatory environment, and for investors to be able to invest reliably and with confidence over the long term that they achieve a return, but they also contribute to the reduction in emissions. In reducing emissions, it's really important to ensure that we don't forget social policy and social issues as well, especially equity and justice. So where you've got industries, for example, that are impacted by emissions reductions, such as steel making or coal mining, the employees and their families and their communities that are affected by those emission reduction efforts, we've got to make sure that companies and governments treat those people equitably and respectfully and provide alternative options for them for the future.
The only way we're going to achieve these significant targets is by partnering. The City of Sydney is a key stakeholder with a very strong drive around its environmental strategy, and it's only through collaboration, working together, sharing ideas that we're going to be able to achieve what we need to achieve to get to net zero by 2050.
The Barangaroo precinct is going to be the first carbon neutral precinct in Australia, so we're going for carbon neutrality in all the buildings. How we've achieved that is through shared infrastructure. So there's a cooling plant underground, which uses harbour water rejection, also recycled water, and of course waste. So we're aiming for all of those aspects to get to carbon neutrality. At Barangaroo, we've used all of the contractors and our partnerships with TAFE and other organisations to upskill workers. What we've done is we've brought the classroom to the construction site. So rather than having people go off to a classroom or TAFE to learn skills, they actually get the training on site and we've had phenomenal outcomes. Lend-Lease has long-term aspirations. One of them is on carbon, and that is ultimately to be powered by clean energy rather than net zero at this stage.
For IKEA, it's really about assessing how sustainability impacts our supply chain from the design perspective right up to how it's sold. IKEA is in just about every continent, every country in some form, and globally we've committed to being energy independent. That really means investments in solar panels on our stores, investments in wind farms, in solar farms, and the biggest barriers we have globally, nationally, is that government policy and jurisdictions. There's a lack of consistency, there's a lack of continuity, there's a lack of assurances that we have some long-term investment opportunities.
And while we urgently need our national leaders, as we've seen in other nations, to step up, they're not doing it. It's the cities and the states, business and the community are getting on with it, and that's who we've got here in this room. I want to say that we're really proud to have you here. I'm proud of your leadership, and we look forward to working with you in the future to harness opportunities together. I urge us all to not wait for those political leaders at the federal level to catch up, but we push on because our climate and economic future can't wait. Thanks everyone, have a really great day.